Hey guys, and welcome back to the Game of Thrones Foreshadowing series, and here we're going to pick up right where we left off and wrap up Season 1, Episode 10, Fire and Blood. Hey guys, it's Chris, and welcome back to SmokeScreen, and let's pick up right where we left off in Episode 10 of Season 1, Fire and Blood. And in our first scene, we have Dany and Mirri Maz Duur talking prophecy.
This is not life. When will he be as he was?
When the sun rises in the west, sets in the east. When the seas go dry, when the mountains blow in the wind like leaves.
So Dany is asking specifically, when will the cow be as he was? And Mirri Maz Duur is trying to basically tell Dany he's never going to be as he was. There's no way in hell. That's why she's naming off these random things that seem to be impossible. But of course, in our world of ice and fire, a lot of things can happen, especially metaphorically, and they do.
The sun rises in the west, sets in the east. When the seas go dry. When the mountains blow in the wind like leaves.
So, unbeknownst to Mirri Maz Duur, who was basically trying to tell Dany to go to hell, that Khal Drogo would never be as he was again, she basically names off a bunch of impossible shit, but as we can see metaphorically, these things do come true. The sun, as in the son of Rhaegar, does set in the east and rise in the west. The seas do go dry and freeze, for example. And of course, we did see mountains blow in the wind like leaves, both at Hardhome and of course in Season 7 as well, when the mist came over the mountains. And of course, after all these things happen metaphorically, we do see this. So, it wasn't Khal Drogo literally becoming as he was, but it is Dany actually becoming the Khal of cows and fulfilling the prophecy herself as the stallion who mounts the world. And in our next scene, we see Jon hearing the news of Ned's death as he leaves Castle Black.
People will come after you. Do you know what happens to deserters? Better than you do.
So Jon is very familiar with what they do to Night's Watch deserters, because this is a little callback to Episode 1 when Jon witnessed this.
The first of his name.
Don't look away.
King of the Andals and the first.
Father will know if you do.
Lord of the Seven Kingdoms and protector of the realm.
You did well.
And next we see Tyrion and Shae going at it for the first time.
I believe you used the word whore.
Are you ashamed of me? Are you afraid that I'm dancing around the court with my tits out? I'm funny now. I'm Shae the funny whore.
So Tyrion decides to go against his father's words and take Shae to court with him after she starts kind of moaning to him about, oh, I'm not good enough. And of course, this leads on to an interesting relationship where she becomes more and more jealous because Tyrion is trying to fulfill what he's supposed to do as a Lannister, and later on we see this.
This man stands accused of murdering King Joffrey. What do you know of this?
I know that he's guilty. He and Sansa planned it together.
Silence!
And in our next scene, Dany shows Khal Drogo some mercy when we see this. Now, it's not so much the mercy killing, we talked about that a minute ago, about Dany actually fulfilling the role of the Khal of Cows, but what's interesting here is right before she actually kills him with the pillow, she specifically says this.
When the sun rises in the west and sets in the east, then you shall return to me, my sun and stars.
So Dany repeats the lines that Mirri Maz Duur told her: when the sun sets in the east and rises in the west, you will return to me. And I think this is a metaphor for love, because later on in season 7, we see this.
He's never been a bastard. He's the heir to the Iron Throne.
So we see love return to Dany in season 7 when the sun, who actually set in the east and rose in the west because he did return from the dead, came back to Dany, as in she found love again in Jon Snow. And next we go to King's Landing, where we have Grand Maester Pycelle and Ros hanging out after a long night of probably chess.
It's far too soon to know what manner of king he will be, but I sense true greatness on the horizon for our new king. Things? What?
When you started, never mind.
Let me see what here.
It's all right. No need.
Yes, yes.
So it doesn't seem like a big deal here, but there's no reason to put this in here without a payoff scene. But specifically, Grand Maester Pycelle is talking about kings, and Ros is really not paying attention to him, and I can't say I blame her. But Ros says never mind and leaves, but they were talking about Joffrey, of course, and what kind of king he would become. And Ros should have listened to that advice from Grand Maester Pycelle about kings, specifically talking about Joffrey, because later on we see this.
Many who try to climb it fail, never get to try again. The fall breaks them.
And next we see Arya meet a few of her traveling companions for the first time.
You stay here with this lot, boy, and stay, or I'll lock you in the back of the wagon with these three.
Now, of course, she meets Hot Pie here, she meets Gendry, but more importantly, she sees 3 men in a cage, better known as Jaqen, Roarg, and Biter, and there was really no other reason to show them unless they were going to be important, and of course, later on, we see this. So she saves those 3 from the fire, from the Red God specifically, as Jaqen puts it later, and of course that would establish her relationship with Jaqen H'ghar and set her on the path to become no one. And in our next scene, we head up to the wall where we see Jeor Mormont and Jon Snow have a little conversation about Jon's late night stroll.
You look exhausted. Was your moonlight ride that tiring? We beheaded everyone that ran away for the night. Only ghosts would guard the wall. Honor made you leave. Honor brought you back.
They killed my father.
Oh, and you're going to bring him back to life, are you? No? Good. I've had enough of that sort of thing.
So overall, this is a great conversation between Jeor Mormont and Jon, and a cool bonding moment for them as well. So Lord Commander Mormont references Ghost guarding the wall, and references bringing him back, as far as bringing Jon back to the wall from being a deserter, and also asks Jon, what are you going to do, bring him back to life? And of course, all these things reference Jon's future at the wall when we see this. And of course, during the same scene referencing Jon's death, we also hear Lord Commander Mormont ask Jon this.
Beyond the wall, the Rangers are reporting whole villages abandoned. Outside Eastwatch, Cossa Pike's men discovered 4 blue-eyed corpses, unlike us. They were wise enough to burn them. Do you think your brother's war is more important than ours?
So right there in a nutshell, Jeor Mormont tells us the entire plot of this damn show and what's really important as far as the real war to come in the White Walkers, as opposed to who sits on the damn Iron Throne. And finally, the show wraps up with Dany actually knowing what the hell is going on. She knows what she's doing. She's figured things out from what Mirri Maz Duur has told her. And of course, she hatches the first dragons by giving up those 3 lives, including Mirri Maz Duur herself. And as I mentioned in an earlier video, those 3 lives are her son Rhaego, Drogo himself, and Mirri Maz Duur, Those 3 deaths pay for the life of 3 dragons, and of course we got Rhaegal, Viserion, and of course their big brother Drogon. So of course through all these trials, Dany figured out the secret to hatching dragons again, a long lost art, and that was her own house words, fire and blood. Anyway guys, that'll do it for this particular episode. We'll pick up next in Season 2, Episode 1, so let me know what you think in the comments below. And as usual, thank you for all the support, especially to you guys on Patreon, and a huge shout out to my executive Patreon SmokeScreen producers, Griffin, Ball Guy 10, Lala Gig, Kissa Powell, Marylin Bentley, Marc Joseph aka The Snow in Winterfell, JoAnna, Anonymous, Doc Colliday, Goska, HoonJive, Nicki Snow, Lo Horton, Erin Habig, Dean Bewell, John Carey, Anastasia, Jason Landers, Rhiaanon, DTizSmith, MJW, Carole Brown, and D Brown. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the support. And to everybody on Patreon, especially during the long night in the off season while everything's down, and especially with YouTube demonetizing every damn video for at least the first couple days. And to everybody out there in YouTube land, if you dig what I do here, please give these videos a share to people you think that would enjoy them, and be sure to subscribe to get everything, and be sure to click that damn notification bell so you're notified when I drop a new video. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.